Go to the next slide. So I want to take a moment before we get started to recognize all of your Market Center Tech trainers. These are not all of them, but these are some very active Market Center Tech trainers within our region. And they are going to be on the call at some point today, making sure they stay active in the chat. So if you see any of these people answering or any of the others that you may know in your market center, please feel free to ask questions because they will be there to answer questions. But you'll see Brett, he's always active in the chat, helping you guys out. Ariel's in there, Dora's in there, Brandon's in there, Candace is in there. There's Chevelle, she's in there. There's a lot of people who are here to help you guys. So feel free to ask questions. We are here for you. And also in your market centers, these guys are here for you. You don't have to pay them to go ask them a question. They're there to help you make sure that this technology makes sense to you. So feel free to utilize them. And then, of course, you got myself. We are going to break for lunch at 12 and go until 1 o'clock. Your market center tech trainers are still going to be working at that time because even though you guys are going to lunch, we have meetings right at that time as well. So it works out perfectly. Can you go to the next slide? So we're going to start off today with Brittany Wolfe. I'm going to be speaking with Brittany about how her and her team utilize command. So we're going to go ahead and bring her into the call now. Hello, Brittany.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So where are you at?
We are in South Florida, in West Palm.
West Palm Beach. All right. So you're part of what team again?
King Team Southeast.
King Team Southeast. So you guys are actually in more than just West Palm Beach, right?
Yes, we're also in Alabama, largely Birmingham.
Birmingham, Alabama. Great. So you guys are an expansion team between two market centers. What's your hub?
It's more South Florida now, but we have a lot of business in Alabama. So it's kind of even, really.
Okay, great. And about how many people do you guys have on your team? Do you have an idea?
Myself, we did have another assistant was working with us, but unfortunately she had to step down. We have a buyer's agent and then our two owners.
Okay, that's just in the West Palm Beach?
Mm-hmm.
And are you handling the hub for both market centers?
Yes, I am.
So how many agents do you have in that market center in Alabama?
We have two guys that will run out and kind of do any listings. If people need to be let into the properties, a lot with our REITs, they'll meet them out there for inspections. So we have two guys that help us out with that up there.
Okay, great. So you guys have a pretty well-oiled machine there, right?
Yes, it was all designed by them. I just follow their method.
All right, and there was a reason why we brought you on because you may be following their method, but you are like the one that's helping engineer a lot of the background stuff, right?
Yes, especially all through DocuSign. They had more trouble with it than I did.
And what was your most challenging part of getting into DocuSign?
I think the thing I missed the most was just that the contracts filled themselves out. I really did not think it was that difficult. It's pretty much the same thing as .loop.
And Brittany, I think you gave your login to somebody else because they're in there posing as you and saying how awesome you are. So
that's my team leader. We kind of share, so ours doesn't seem to stay as one of us. It comes up as either me or it comes up as her.
Can we maybe does she mind if we bring her on as well?
Oh yeah, I'm sure she would.
All right, let's see if we can find her.
Brittany, number 2, you have to turn your camera on.
Oh, she doesn't have hers.
Oh, she doesn't have a camera? Okay. Well, do you have a microphone?
She does have that. I know that.
All right.
Yes, I do. I'm sorry.
All right. We can't spotlight you without the camera, but we'll go ahead and bring you in as well since it is your team. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having her. Brittany's not giving herself enough credit. She's our right arm. We couldn't be able to do this without her.
She's been very awesome. She's been very eager to help is what I hear in the market center. I know the MCT2 suggested you was saying that you actually help teach in the market center as well.
Yes.
I do. Okay.
So
When Chevelle was initially trying to help people switch, she asked me if I would help teach other people.
and what made you want to dive into that ahead of time?
To get over my fears of speaking to people. If I'm being honest, that's 100% the reason.
Well, that's a great reason. Overcoming fears, an amazing high too. So what about getting into DocuSign? What made you want to get into DocuSign?
Our Alabama office actually gave us no choice. They flipped before Florida. So they were probably about 6 months to a year before Florida did. So we had no choice. I did not want Julie paying for another program. I thought that was a waste of money when we have something being offered by Command. And why not just use that?
Did you feel like a pro when using your other system? I'm assuming you guys were using Dotloop.
Yeah, we were using Dotloop before.
And did you feel like you guys were pros at that?
Yes, that was very easy to use too.
And how was that transition? What did it look like?
It was a mess at first, mainly just getting all my templates together. I had to get that kind of figured out, making sure I labeled everything correctly, because I would come up with it where it would be like the buyer had to log in 4 different times because I literally would label one thing wrong. And I didn't like that. So that was the biggest hurdle.
Gotcha. And have you come up with any systems when you're working within DocuSign to make it easier for you?
The biggest thing to me is labeling. If
Labeling?
I do not have things labeled correctly, it makes it a mess, because I have noticed, especially when you're submitting documents to compliance, it pulls even archived documents. So that was the biggest thing I stressed when I taught the DocuSign in for the office, was just please label everything to like very specific with dates, executed, however you want it, but make it easy on yourself.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm going to be teaching part of that today. So if you have time and you want to jump on with me, feel free to jump on. I'm going to be doing that at 3 o'clock today. And labeling is part of one of my tips and tricks that we're going to show to make it easier for you to pull over. So thank you for sharing that. All right, so let's see what else we have here. So you guys are doing a lot of transactions within DocuSign, aren't you?
Yes, I store everything in DocuSign. I do not use anything outside of it. I just create different folders.
So how many transactions are you guys doing on average per month?
Probably 30, 50 in that range.
Okay, just depending up on the month.
Mm-hmm.
That does not account for how many contracts are actually written, though.
And then never make it.
Especially in this market, right?
Correct.
Yeah, especially with how the market's going.
So Julie, since you're more on that side, how many deals? How many offers do you think you guys are writing up right now?
Oh, shoot.
It's hard to say exactly, but
It is, and we're trying to work through a process right now, because it's hard to account for the offers. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with working with REITs, but we have quite a few large ones that we submit properties over there to them. And when I say submit, we've got off-market sellers or wholesalers that will bring us properties. And what we typically do is we load them up on the spreadsheets for these investors and let them look at them. And then they do their underwriting and come back to us to make the offer. Then we turn around and we do several different ways. We'll either put it in contract writing, or it just makes it easy to do email format. Once a deal comes together, then we put it on writing. So technically, to keep track of how many offers are written based off of email communication versus how many offers are written, put into actual DocuSign or on contract, the numbers are not anywhere relative to what is actually being submitted. But as far as like to answer your question, if we write 50 contracts a month, we're looking at submitting offers of maybe 150 to 200 a month. Just in perspective. And Brittany, if I'm wrong, maybe if you think that's probably a roundabout number.
No, that's pretty safe for the amount I'm writing.
yeah, I mean, I practice still as well, and I know when I'm writing offers, it's very competitive. So just to get one client under contract on average here lately, I've been writing at least 4 to 5 just for one, and that's a good one. There's some that we've had to go much further because you just don't win. We're going like almost 60,000 over and still not getting it on some properties, just depending upon the property. All right, so Brittany, what is your biggest challenge when you did transition over from Dotloop into DocuSign, and what was your biggest win?
The biggest challenge, which I know because Command was a little bit of a mess, was that all of the contacts and everything kind of got duplicated. So we had to pretty much redo it, transferring all the documents that I keep stored for them, like their proof of funds, all of their corporation documents. So it was just kind of getting everything set up. It did take like several days. So I would say that was the biggest really challenge. But now it's pretty streamlined. The best thing I would say is it's all in one. I don't have to go anywhere else. And that's what I like.
Great. And as far as your transition into actual DocuSign though, were there any other pain points besides just getting your contacts sorted out? Like as far as
I really didn't
curves?
have any. I really didn't. I found it pretty seamless. I really didn't see any issue with it. I didn't see what people are complaining about so much. I thought it was actually easier.
Okay. And what were the biggest wins? What were the things that you got really excited about?
I like anything I get to learn that's new. So that's what I was excited about. Anything new for me to challenge me and try to learn new technology.
Once you learned it though, you had to turn around and teach a team. So
Yes.
what was your biggest ahas from doing that?
I kind of learned from other people, little tips and tricks that they did to make things kind of easier. Like I did not know in Command that I could make checklists within there. So I was still doing that from my book. So that was my big aha. I was like, okay, I can make a checklist. I can check all of that off. So I thought it made it a little bit easier. And I got that from somebody else in our office.
Any other ahas? Like, did you have anything when teaching?
No, I really didn't. I think that was the only really thing that I did not see there.
All right, so we got a question here from Chevelle, and we'll go ahead and, since she's your MCTT here, we'll go ahead and bring her in to ask the question, which is, as Julie's admin, where did you go for training? Were you able to create the process for the team?
YouTube, Marty Miller's videos.
It's a good resource, huh?
Yeah, because he had videos on everything. So any question you had, you could literally type it into YouTube and you could find a video.
Right, and he's actually, if you didn't know, he actually just started his new 66-day challenge just a couple weeks ago. So you can go ahead and find that. And while I'm saying that, if you speak Spanish, Peter, who is supposed to teach our opportunity section, he just started doing it in Spanish. And also we have the French Canadian version being created right now as well. So we're trying to get 66-day challenge with Marty Miller's assistance done in many different languages. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to be sharing, and we already have been trying to share Peter's YouTube channel, so you can go back and start watching his. And I know Marty Miller's been sharing that. So just a plug there for any of you guys who want to go and watch Marty Miller and his 66-day challenge, or get it in other languages. So when watching those videos, was there anything that was just like a wow factor for learning DocuSign? Anything that's made the process a little bit quicker and easier?
The main thing was the templates for me. That was the biggest videos that I focused on. So when I found that was the aha for me, because I was literally doing it manually every time because I didn't think I could do that. And with the REITs that we work with and how many I have to write, there's no possible way I can do it without the templates. So when I saw those videos, that was my aha. I was like, yes, finally.
So is there anything that you can give as a tip or a suggestion to other people who are starting to learn DocuSign or maybe are afraid to learn DocuSign that would help them overcome that fear or help them maybe move through learning process a little bit faster? Since you've gone through that and you've trained a bunch of the people in the market center, and you've also trained your team.
The biggest thing is trial and error. You just have to spend the time. I know people don't really have the time right now, especially with the market, but you really just have to take the time and dive in. I just basically took a couple of days. I didn't really do anything else besides emergencies and just forced myself.
Online for your business? Is it YouTube?
What was I couldn't hear it.
I'm sorry, that was somebody forgot it. They didn't mute themselves.
Oh,
So anyways, you were saying for training in the market center.
ask anybody for help. I know that's what Chevelle did with me, with other admins. She actually did an admin team specifically for one of the command classes. So I just kind of relied on anybody else, and I just took the time. I just forced myself because we really just didn't have a choice. So I just took a couple of days and dived through all of it, watched as many videos, took notes, and just played around in trial and error. I made test accounts, test opportunities that I labeled as that, and just made my own transactions that were underneath my name to see how they came out. How did the envelopes look? I sent them to myself. Did the signatures come out correctly? Was there errors? I do notice though, when you do send envelopes, that if you sent it already to a buyer or a seller, you cannot change that document anymore and you have to void it. That is one thing I wish could go away. That is why I always send the envelopes to we do it under Julie. So I send it to her first. And I always have it as, even if she doesn't have to sign anything, I always do a view because that lets me catch my mistakes before it goes to them.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
use
just
the
trial
same
and error.
thing. And it's usually going to be if they've signed. If they haven't signed, you should be able to change it. But if they've already gone in and started signing, if they've even just put one signature on there, then you can't change it.
I wish we
I've
could
gone ahead and
change
brought
that.
Chevelle in. Chevelle, we wanted to thank you first of all for recommending Brittany. She sounds like she's doing a great job. Can you kind of talk about a little bit what she's been doing in the market center as far as
Okay.
training?
Give me 1 second.
She's like, oh no, I have to talk. I'm gonna close my door.
Good, focus. All right, so for our market center, we have about almost 300 agents. So of course, when we rolled out DocuSign, it became, okay, we need to train everyone on DocuSign and just show them what they have so that they don't have to pay a third-party service. So, hey Dora, thank you. So what I did was I found whoever was already using DocuSign. So like Brittany said, with Julie's team in Alabama, they were forced to use it. So I gathered her, all the admins, and then they were all able to kind of bounce ideas off of each other because admins are going to do the same things, right? So then I had different teams. So I had admins learning from each other. I did not meet with the rainmakers because they have to continue the business. Then I met with some of our tech trainers in the office because we have a lot of agents that just love the tech and they will just help with whatever we need help with. So I met with them as well. And Brittany was just there every step of the way because every time she found something new, she was like, oh my God, Chevelle, did you know that DocuSign can do this? And I'm not someone that needs to use DocuSign every single day, but the fact that she was able to show me these things, we just scheduled a class, we got everyone in there as much as possible, and then, hey, we just learned something else new.
So she was pretty excited.
She was. So the fact that she said she was like afraid to talk to anyone, I'm like, I don't believe that because I can show you the recordings. Like, she was so amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that enthusiasm really makes the classes a lot more fun.
Right.
So from your experience of helping with getting those set up, do you know of anything, Chevelle, that you would suggest as far as learning when you're transitioning from Dotloop into Command or any other platform into, not necessarily Command, but going into DocuSign?
Okay, so first things first is it's something new. It is going to be challenging. So if you feel frustrated, ask questions, raise your hand, call Ryan, call whoever your tech trainer is, because there's always a reason for something. So I know when our office had DocuSign, there was something wrong with one of our forms. I think it was a contract to lease form. And I think everyone was kind of like afraid to tell me what was going on until someone finally said, I can't fill in the blanks. I'm like, dude, how am I supposed to know if you don't tell me? As soon as they told me, I called Ryan and he had it fixed. So it's just one of those things where if there is a kink or if there is something, you have to let someone know so that we can reach out to KWRI and get it fixed. And honestly, most of the issues that we were having, I just reported them to Ryan and I haven't had any more complaints with DocuSign.
Yeah, it's pretty much like anything else. I mean, if it's your first time signing up for Facebook and you go in, there is a setup process. It takes time to go in and put your profile picture in, write your information about who you are, where you live, whether you're single or married, all that stuff that's in your profile. It takes time to fill that stuff out. And it's the same thing of signing up with any other thing. You have a sign up process, you have a transition process. I mean, if you decided not to use Facebook anymore and you're gonna start using Instagram, there's a process of switching over, and it's a different platform. So it's a little bit different. Even if it's now owned by the same company, it's still a little bit different. So there is going to be a little bit of time in between there where it's going to be like, oh, I can't use long posting where they got to be square, or I can't, this isn't really as wordy as it used to be. We use a lot more hashtags over here. So just getting used to different things. Any other suggestions, Brittany, before we start letting people ask some questions?
I definitely found that, well, this is not really on DocuSign, but if you're doing Facebook posts or anything, run them through command, because it literally puts the contacts in there for you. I've seen people that are running it not out of command. You're making more work for yourself.
And you're actually working with a large volume. So any tips that you might have to try and make that process a little bit faster when running those offers?
Type really fast.
I assume that speed is important for you guys to be able to get those offers in, especially in
Yes.
this market. So do you guys have anything pre-done, any templates or anything like that?
I have
That's what I was
templates done for
gonna say.
every single investor.
Are you gonna cover that today, Ryan? Templates?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have
we're gonna do that in the
literally
last session.
individually, all in individual folders on DocuSign, labeled to each investor's name, their contract, their personal property, if they have addendums that are included just for them. I have them all preset and already made. It makes it so much faster on yourself. Then you're just putting in your basic information.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to open up this session now to everybody else, and I'll get you off of there so you don't have to stand the entire time, Chevelle.
I'm right here.
Does anybody else want to go ahead and start asking questions? Feel free to put it in the chat, or you can go ahead and come on camera. We'll be happy to do so. If you want to come on camera and ask a question, please raise your hand. And if you want to ask a question, go ahead and put it in the chat. How about some of our market center tech trainers? All right, I got Laura. I'm going to go ahead and get you in here. Can you start your video, Laura? There you are. Go ahead, Laura. Got to unmute yourself first, though.
Hi, sorry. So the question is, I'm very new. I recently joined, and I heard Brittany was saying to use the Facebook through command. Is there, how do you use the Facebook through your command?
Are you wanting to do ads?
Yeah.
Well, you have to first link the Facebook with your command. You have to give it like access and permission. And then you just go over to campaigns, and then you create your campaign through that. And then it will post to your Facebook with whatever date that you set it to post, and then however long of a duration you gave it. So if you're doing it for 2 days, if you're doing it for 5 days, 7 days, and then any leads that come from it, like any clicks, that it will automatically create a contact for you in your command. So then you can literally note and follow up through command. You don't have to use an outside system.
So the leads come through the command system.
Yes.
Brittany, I don't know or Ryan, if it'd be okay if you wanted to log into our account and show them. You're welcome to show them where the leads show up at if you want to.
Oh, that's very nice of you. Thank you so much. So then and the other question is, how do I control, because usually if I run an ad and I say, okay, I put out like $100, it eats up like in a day or two. Is there any way to control the amount that you like? How do you control that? Because it eats up a lot of money in like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, you can change the amount in the same place where you're changing the duration and all of that. You don't have to make it $100 every time. Before you create it, you can put a different amount.
I didn't know how, actually the first time I ran a Facebook ad is true. When I came into, I never had a Facebook ad, and this is what they told me to do. So I wasn't sure. So now you could control the amount that you put.
Yeah, you can control how much you want to pay.
Okay.
Yeah, the last stage in building that ad asks you how long you want to do and how much money you want to do. And it actually says in a little bubble there, their suggestion is $10 per channel over that time period. So if you were actually just do Facebook and put $10 in over 10 days, you're spending $1 a day on ads. And I've done that many times and gotten quite a few leads off of that just by spending $10. If I got 8 leads, I'm happy with that over 10 days for $1 a day.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. That was very useful.
I would
No
say just
problem.
a suggestion, definitely create custom tags for the leads, because sometimes with Facebook, there is a lot of bad numbers that you have to filter through. So we have tags created so that way we know, hey, never touch that again. Go ahead and archive it and get rid of it because it's just not real.
Ah, gotcha. Good one. Okay, thank you.
Anything to make it easier.
Yeah, I'm taking in a lot right now with everything. But
All
thank
right,
you
we
guys.
spotlighted the Palm Beach training room because they've got a nice large crowd there, and we're hoping we can get some questions from there. So thank you, Becky, for suggestion. And anybody want to go ahead and ask a question?
Let's see. I think you had a couple in the chat. How do you label individual documents in the envelopes tab? I label the individual documents in the DocuSign documents tab. I don't think you can relabel them once they're in the envelope. So do it from the documents tab.
Can I ask you a question about that, Brittany?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so even when I've started writing the documents, when you're creating them, it auto-populates to the envelope. So how do you, that name doesn't transfer for me. All I see is a box and it just says, please DocuSign. And
So
it
you want
doesn't.
to you want to actually like label the envelope of what it's being sent to them instead of it saying please DocuSign?
The individual documents within DocuSign that you are waiting for the draft or completed, because
Mhm.
sometimes you have to go back to those and I have to open up every single one and figure out which one is what document.
Then yeah, the only way to relabel them, like I have my templates very customly labeled, but if you're pulling documents, say from like your Office DocuSign forms,
Okay.
they already have a label. Just change the name of it in your DocuSign documents tab. Then whatever you put in the envelope, it should have the same name. It shouldn't change it. Because that's where I
So-
always relabel everything.
You have a long name for the as is. If you were to go into the document, not actually click on the document, but right click on the document and it'll say rename. You can rename that to just as is if you wanted to.
Right, not in the envelopes tab though.
Not in envelopes.
No.
You have to do it in the documents section.
Right, but when I'm in the documents, they are labeled, like they all say what they are. But when you view them in the envelopes tab, there's no name of which each document is. It just says, please DocuSign. I can,
Mine doesn't look like that. Let me see.
this is my envelopes tab.
Oh yeah, it's not going to tell you what's in them and that.
Ugh.
It only just says completed or who you're waiting for.
Right, so sometimes I go back in there to open things back up that I need to address, and I have to open up, 10 documents to figure out which one is what. So there's no, maybe that's something we should put in the suggestion box with command. It would be
I
really
would
nice.
suggest you rename. I would suggest you rename each one before you send the envelope out. It lets you, like it says, please DocuSign. You can rename that. Like for example, if you're sending it out because you missed an initial on the bottom page, you can rename it to missing initial instead of please DocuSign, and that'll help you at least understand which envelope it could be.
Okay, and where does that come into play when you're
Before you send
When
the
you,
envelope.
yeah, before you send it out, right when you're creating the envelope, at the very top, you can edit the name. It says please DocuSign. You can just edit
Okay.
in that box.
I'll check for that next time. Thank you. Because
It's
it's
like if you scroll down on the envelope before you click send, or it goes to where you can like add your signatures and all that stuff. You can also create a custom email message if you like.
that I've seen,
Yes.
that I've used. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
how you get, so a lot of these questions that are being asked in the chat, we're actually going to be covering today during our sessions. So again, Dora is going to teach you how to get into DocuSign from command, how to set up DocuSign. And that's going to be happening at 1 o'clock today. Ariel is going to be coming in and teaching you how to create a offer within DocuSign. And that's going to happen at 2 o'clock. And then I'll be teaching at 3 o'clock, putting together the deal faster by using templates like she's talking about, and also using some of the renaming features, little tips and tricks on how to make things just run smoother and faster. So we're going to set everything up first, and then we'll teach you some of the more advanced stuff. So anything you need to know on DocuSign is going to be covered. So main reason I wanted to have Brittany here is to hear it from a big team who is doing a lot of transactions, and that you guys could ask her questions more specifically around how they're doing it, what they're doing, if there's any tips or tricks on that. Does anybody have any questions about that?
And you might agree, but I would say that like, unless you have like a buyer like that's on a massive scale, like buying constantly, I really wouldn't do templates. I would just use your office's documents within DocuSign forms, because they already have everything like with pre-tagged roles already created. The only reason I do templates is just because I have to write so many offers. I don't know, Ryan, you may not agree on that.
No, I think that we're in a market right now where those templates are helpful because we're trying to write offers up constantly. We're working with the same buyer, and it's the same thing over and over. We're either doing, like right now, a lot of us are probably writing 7-day inspection period offers. So templates are helpful for that. We're pretty much write an offer up almost the same way every time we write it, because that's our habit of doing it. So those templates are very helpful. And again, I know I'm talking about templates, and some of you guys are probably sitting there hearing me talk about it and saying, well, what does that even mean? Again, come in and learn at 3 o'clock how to create those templates, because it'll make your life a lot easier. There's 2 different templates we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the document templates, and then there's also another template that you can use that's in the envelope side. And that, again, if you work with buyers, that's extremely helpful over there. So come learn that one. And then again, tips and tricks on how to arrange things and make things just move faster. And we're working on it. I was hoping it would be available for today, but we're working on one more document that I had talked to Brittany about that's going to make everybody's life even easier, because it's going to auto-populate a lot of the information within our documents once it's available to us. So I'll be on the lookout for that. All right, Brittany, we're almost to the end. I want to ask to see if there's anybody else that can maybe ask a question. It can be about DocuSign, but again, all the stuff that we're going to talk about, templates and how to set everything up, is going to be talked about a little bit later. So I would really suggest you making those classes if possible. But if you can't make those classes later, we'll have them recorded, and then you also have Brittany right here that you can ask a quick question to.
I have a question.
Okay, go for it.
Thank you. It's about the listing agreement. I have to put in, it's fine to ask question about the listing agreement?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. I have to put 3 names on the seller side.
Mhm.
And I have, my question is about, I have to separate by commas, or because it's 3 names, not 2 or 1, it's 3 names. I have to separate each name from other by commas, or how can do that?
You mean on like the line for your sellers? Like at the
Yes.
top of the contract? I just do
Yes.
I just put the first name, comma, second name, comma, last name.
And that's it.
As long as the full name's listed.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I have to do it. What happened is I'm missing 1 name, and I'm waiting on get the 3rd name, and I don't want to waste time to figure out how I can do it. So that's why my question in advance.
Yeah, and if anything, if you were waiting on that 3rd name, I mean, you could just go ahead and get your documents in an envelope. Go ahead and get all of your information already like on your side typed in, you like the name, property address, parcel ID, and then you can just click save as a draft the envelope. And then all you have to do is once you got that name, just go back in and plug that 3rd name in, and it's ready to go.
Oh, okay.
Anything you put in the detail section will auto update everywhere else.
Okay, perfect.
Once
Thank
you
you.
add it. Great question, Van. Thank you very much. That actually brought up another question. I think it's probably a great question for you, Brittany, since you guys are dealing with these things all the time. What are some tips and tricks that you would have around working with LLCs and putting them into DocuSign, or working with not even just LLCs, but working with like maybe a trust or something like that? Because I'm sure you guys work with those quite a bit.
Yes. So the contact I do as whatever the company's name is, and then I run all of the opportunities. So I do each opportunity as the address. And then in DocuSign, in my docs, that's where I store all of their LLC docs. So
Okay.
I just keep it all within there.
How about
So
when
then
you're
all I have to
signing?
do is transfer it. Whoever our assigner is who I make the buyer for the envelope.
And how do you get in the Esquires or the LLCs or the trusts? How do you get those names in there?
You can just type it as the buyer's name. It'll automatically pull it.
Do you
That's
mind
what I
just
do.
pulling it up real quick and showing everybody where that would be at?
Yeah. Let me go to one. There it goes. So let's see here. This is one. You have somebody waiting to get into.
Oh, thank you.
And where is it? Details.
All right, so just to remind, especially for anybody who just joined the room, what we're looking at right now, they work with a lot of different companies. And sometimes these companies are gonna have LLCs, sometimes they're gonna have trusts, and sometimes they may even have a lawyer working within some of this confines, so they may have Esquire. So that needs to be put in somewhere. So she's gonna show you how they do that.
So anything you type there is automatically going to pull to your buyer, and whatever you make your contact name. So if you write your contact as the whole LLC name, it will always be there. It'll pull
So-
automatically.
What if you have a company name, but when they go to sign, they actually have to have the signer's name?
You just make it whoever the signer's name's email. And then it goes directly to the signer. So like ours, it won't say the signer's name, it'll say the company, but in my email address for the contact, I'll have it as whoever their signer is. So if it's Joe Schmo at Gmail or whatever the company's name is, that's what will be listed there.
But
So
usually
it
you
will
do
go to
that.
them.
You do that from over in the envelope side, right?
I
you're
started
putting
literally
in the-
from the contact. I make that
contact.
all the way from the contact. Then I don't have to do it on the DocuSign sign. So it's pretty much just saving time.
Gotcha.
Any way I can make it faster for myself, that's what I'll do.
Hi, can I say something?
Go ahead.
Go for
Hi,
it.
no, because I'm brand new and something I learned from our title company is the following. A lot of people here in South Florida have an LLC, but they not necessarily have a bank account in the name of their company. So to make sure that way, because I've had problems and they forewarned me about that the check will be made payable to the LLC, and then they won't be able to deposit if they don't have that, you know, a bank account in the name of the LLC. Usually they only have a personal account. So that's just something to put it out there.
Thank you very much. That'll help
Sure.
somebody.
And I have a question about command.
Okay.
So if I do multiple offers for the same buyer, I tried to do it in the same opportunity, but it got really glitchy. So do you recommend doing a totally different opportunity? Even though it's the same buyer, same client?
When you say it got really glitchy, what does that mean?
Yeah. Like you
Ugh.
couldn't find your stuff, like it wasn't coming up correctly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I couldn't explain it.
My suggestion is I would get with you. What market center are you from?
351, Ariel helps me a lot. Ariel
So
and
I would get-
Sebastian.
I would get with Ariel because he's a master at it. He'll be able to help you through it. And if not, then the next step would be to do that. But you don't want to have to create that unless you have to. Creating another opportunity is an option, but you don't want to have to do it unless you absolutely have to, because that's additional work that you shouldn't have to do. But there might be just something in there that's causing an error, and he may be able to help you fix it.
Were you
Yeah,
writing
I'm
like
learning.
offers on completely different addresses?
Yes.
Okay, then I always do it as separate as different opportunity. So
I always
if,
do mine within the same opportunity. You just do a new version.
I mean, you can do like this, which is in the documents tab, and you just create like separate folders. So like you can
Yeah.
add right, actions.
And that we're going to be going over all this, what she's
Yeah.
about to show right now, a little bit later today.
And then
So
just
good
create
luck.
many different folders.
Yeah, that's what I did, but for some reason it got, confusing. And since I'm new, to me, ended up being easier to create a new opportunity, even though it was more work,
Now,
You can do
something
that if you want to. That's not going to hurt anything.
No, it doesn't. And something that we have done where we have found it to be easier to find is I know that if you do one opportunity, you'd have to go in and check that opportunity for multiple offers. But let's say, for example, we're working with Joe Schmo for one seller or for one buyer, and they're making offers on multiple properties. It's super easy if you log in, find him as the contact or her as the contact, and over to the right is create a new opportunity. And what we normally do is we'll put the name of the LLC with a dash and then the property address. So then later on, if we wanted to, you can go underneath that specific contract or contact and look over at the opportunity for every offer for every single property that's written. And it just keeps things separated. So when you click to go into that opportunity, it will allow you to keep track of that property in that form and those documents and those offers, because we work so much. It's just, and it's also another way of tracking your numbers as well,
Yeah.
too, because if for every offer you write, versus your offer, versus acceptance, it's a great way of tracking your written contracts, if that makes sense.
No, that's great feedback. And that's the way Command was created, is to be scalable for what different types of businesses. For a single agent that's working individually, you may not want to go that route.
No.
But for a big team doing what you guys are doing, I completely makes sense.
And then anything that you do put in the documents tab, even if you have, say, 4 separate folders, they are always in the like last folder where it says like room docs. So you just have to move them to the correct labeled folder. They don't go into your labeled folders initially.
Yeah, and I'll be giving some tips around that a little bit later too. So again, at 3 o'clock, we'll be showing all that stuff. So I appreciate you actually bringing it up, because it gives me a time to do a commercial for my 3 o'clock class. And with that being said, I want to take this time to say thank you to Brittany. I really, really appreciate you coming on with us today. We want to make sure we give everybody a chance to take a break, to go grab a drink, go to the bathroom, do whatever you need to do, and then come back at 10 o'clock, because we're going to be meeting with Donna Suhaki, who is an agent and an ALC member. And she is going to be teaching us about contacts and smart plans, which is the foundation of Command. Because when I like to teach Command, it's MREA style. And that's going to be the foundation, is your contacts. It's your data bank, right? So come learn how to build that data bank with Donna.